Hey, what is up guys? Speed here, and today I'm making another video where I talk about spells that people use incorrectly. You guys responded very well to the last one. It was, well received, and therefore I want to make another one, except not on ultimates this time. The last video was 7 ultimates that were used incorrectly. This one is going to be 7 spells that are not ultimates that people use incorrectly. So let's hop right into it. Smash the like button if you like this series, if you want more of these where I continue to do them, or I even talk about 7 items that people use wrong, 7 combos, 17 comps, 7 movements, anything, 5 movements, it could be any number, doesn't matter. If you're looking forward to those videos or you want to see them, smash the like button, subscribe, and of course sign up to the GAMELEAP website so you can get guides on Venomancer jungles, Fen, I don't know, supports, whatever we're going to be talking about. I also made a recent video on Terrorblade and Faceless Void, and there's also one more coaching session I did. I think it was on the off lane. I'll catch back up on that for you guys. I'll let you know, but there's so much good content coming up to the GameLeap website. I made a bunch of guides where I'm playing on a Smurf up to 6k. dislike the video, speed, you're smurfing. There's a lot of good stuff coming out, so you guys got to go check that out. Click the link down below, and you're going to get a discount, actually. You're going to get a discount for your first month, and let's get into the video. So, first things first, we have Meta on TB. Now, yes, I could have put this in the last video. I could have. Meta is definitely arguably an ultimate ability. However, technically it's not, so I can use it. Meta on TB is one of the most misunderstood abilities in Dota just because it has such a long cooldown, and when abilities have long cooldowns, people hesitate to use them, right? They hesitate to use them. And honestly, this is an advanced tip for anyone playing any hero with a long cooldown. Don't be afraid to use it early into the game. Use it for whatever value you can. So, let's agree on something. Terrorblade has a very weak level 1, assuming you don't have your meta up, right? It's pretty weak. You're a low HP hero, certain magical damage lanes can absolutely run you over. And therefore, if you are in a lane that is putting a lot of pressure on you, or could put a lot of pressure on you, you should pop the meta at level 1 for the first wave, get every deny, every CS, and that is how you could snowball the lane. On top of that, there's one other thing I want to talk about with meta, other than the fact that you should use it a lot more in the lane. You should use it 2 or 3 times, while the typical player that I watch uses it once, maybe twice. And so the second thing that I see wrong is Ancients when it comes to meta. It's just, take Ancients, guys. I was coaching one of my students, and, he recently just shot up MMR, and we were watching a TV game. Actually, did I post that one on the GameLeap website? I think I did. You guys will have to go check it out. Sign up if you haven't. Hehe. Become broken. But you just have to farm Ancients. Most heroes in Dota can't farm Ancients early into the game. When they're level 5, level 6, they can't farm Ancients. It's way too slow, right? There's only a few exceptions, and one of those exceptions is Terrorblade. With meta, you just can take Ancients. So go take Ancients! You're probably like, Speed, this is such a basic tip. Yes, but no one does it. Like, go watch your games. If you play TB or watch a TB player in like 2K bracket. For some reason, people just don't do it. Go do it. Next up is Pudge Hook. Now, I made a video talking about, how to play around the hook in the early game, so I won't go too in depth. I recommend you check out the video that literally came out the day before this one, and yeah, it's gonna help you a ton, just talking about why you should be using hook more so for value damage, how you can use it to save people, and that's the main thing that I see, right? The main things that I see are that people don't use it for value damage in the lane, they don't use it to save their teammates, and they throw way too many blind hooks. Wait for stuns, wait for people to go into enclosed areas where they have nowhere to go, then throw the hook. There are certain situations that blind hooks can be good in, but usually you want to wait for people to get stunned or walk into an enclosed area. Next up, we have a pretty similar spell to Hook. In its nature, it's another long-range skill shot, and that is Mirana Arrow. Mirana Arrow, the main things that I see people doing wrong is basically it's kind of the same thing as Hook. People just yeet it out to try to get kill after kill after kill, which is not always bad. That is often what you want to use these spells for. However, top tier players balance it out by doing things with arrows such as nuking the large camp. Imagine 1 minute into the game, killing a creep that can make you go up by a full quarter of a level. Well, you can do that, and then when you hit level 3 early on into the game, you have a bigger power spike than yeeting an arrow at someone a minute in, right? And that's how you should look at Mirana. You can get a lot of gold, a lot of XP, and the most advanced strategy that basically no player uses that I've seen below 4k MMR is arrowing the range creep. This is brutally effective. If you arrow the enemy range creep to start the lane, you are putting yourself in such an advantageous position to trade Well, because when you trade and the enemy team has no range creep and you do, you will naturally win the trade if it's a 50-50. Also, the lane will shove into the opponent, which is actually a good thing. Lane equilibrium doesn't matter in the early levels. I mean, it does a little bit. It doesn't matter in the first wave, though. You could shove it in, push it. It's not going to change that much, especially if you don't, know the alternatives. And so yeah, arrow the range creep, shove the wave, and make sure to use it a lot more to farm. You're going to do better. Now, the next thing I actually want to show you guys in a demo lobby. Alright, so this is a very important example and something that is a reason why position 4 tinies can be so dominant if they understand this concept. Eventually, at some point in the game, your combo eventually doesn't one-shot most heroes, right? Especially if you're a support tiny and you're underleveled, let's say you're level 13 and you don't have the avalanche damage talent, you can't always one-shot people, right? Especially when the game gets later and later. And therefore, what you can do is use toss and avalanche more so for control. So how do you do that? You might be saying, well, Speed, or do you mean doing this where you avalanche and then when it ends you toss? That's, that is actually okay. That is an example of frankly, a way you could use avalanche toss better. Just that in itself, right? Avalanche, wait for the toss, that's when you have follow-up damage, right? And you can't one-shot them. But there's also one more example. Let's say that this axe is on low HP, but this is an Anti-Mage, and this is a Crystal Maiden, and my team has a Sven. What I can do to put two opponents next to each other is toss them to each other. So instead of bursting this low HP hero and going for the solo kill as such, what I can do instead is blink onto this guy, toss him here, and then avalanche. And when you get that down, what it does is it allows your AoE damage carries, which are very common in this patch. They're very, very common. A lot of Battle for Your Heroes, Battle for Your Jug, Battle for Your PA, Sven, etc., etc. And, this is just such a great way to get a lot of value damage and allow your teammates to just cleave through two heroes. So keep that in mind. Next up, we have Venom Wards. The main thing that I see about this is that people don't use them for vision enough. That's like kind of the biggest part that I could give. Just put them on high grounds and use them off cooldown. It's a 5-second cooldown for 20 mana. Just spam it. That's number one. And the second thing I see them do is to actually use it in the lane. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, this recent study actually came out, and it showed that if you put the wards down in the jungle, they actually do double the damage. So Venom Jungle is better than ever. Go do it in your games right now for free MMR. You're welcome. Next up is Ricky Tricks of the Trade. This spell is kind of a tough one to explain, in my opinion, because it's just there's so many examples of like how you can use it different. You can use it completely defensively, partially defensively, completely aggressively. But let me try to explain it to the best of my ability. So, Tricks of the Trade, the biggest mistake I see people make in the early game, especially in the early game, is that they use it as their main source of damage. Let's say someone gets stunned and they're trying to burst them. What they'll do is they will blink in and instantly Tricks of the Trade. But very often, Tricks of the Trade, it doesn't do nearly as much damage as your right click. And this is the big mistake that I see. People will lead in with Tricks of the Trade in the early game rather than using it as a little bit of mobility. Right? So instead, if you want to maximize damage on Ricky, in the early game, what you want to do is you want to go in, you want to hit, and then when they get out of attack range, or you're out of blink strikes, or the enemy team is threatening you and you need to do damage but also not die, that's when you cast Tricks of the Trade. It's more of a finisher move, less of this DPS thing that people use it for. It's better to use it earlier on, the later the game goes. That's what I've noticed because, then you can die a lot easier. There's a lot more disables you can get bursted in the early game. If you buy 2 Wraith Pens and a wand or some treads, pretty hard to get bursted, and you want to use it to catch up to people, not to burst. And finally, last but not least, is Tusk Snowball. And Tusk Snowball has 2 major problems that I'd like to point out. Number 1, it's when you yeet everyone in a team fight and you get your team killed. Or even in the mid game, or even in the laning stage. You put your entire team in the snowball. Guys, do not just put people in the snowball because it does extra damage. You only put people in the snowball if they actually want to be next to the person you're snowballing on. I literally see this where Tusks will just snowball a Crystal Maiden onto the front line, like, yeet, get him Elsa, and then she's dead 3 seconds later. And then the second half to it is actually a very complex one that I don't think most players even have ever considered, which is not using it to initiate, especially in the laning stage. So let's say we're 9 minutes into the game, you're a Tusk, you're ganking a lane. I swear, every single time, a Tusk will lead with Snowball. Guys, is it okay to lead with Snowball? Yes, especially if let's say, you're trying to catch a Quap and you need to punch her. Lead with Snowball. However, if you're ganking a Wraith King 8 minutes in, you don't need to do that. In fact, it's a bad thing. You actually want to use Snowball to close the gap, like afterwards close the gap. You don't want to use it right away if you can close the gap with something like shards and then save the Snowball for either afterwards to keep him in the shards or to prevent yourself from getting gone on, right? Maybe you can dodge the Wraith King stun. There are so many uses of Snowball that you lose out on if you instantly initiate with Snowball. So guys, if you can close the gap by walking in and right-clicking them with an Orb of Venom and a Boots, or by leading with a good shards and then following up with the Snowball that you can actually calculate and say, maybe I shouldn't go in, maybe I should go in. It gives you time to think when you don't rush with Snowball. You're going to do much, much better. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, I'll see you in the next one. And peace. Before you leave, just want to say a quick message. If you're trying to get better at Dota or you just enjoyed that video, I know this is pretty general and you're going to hear this quite a bit from me, but I recommend you sign up to GAMELEAP.com. Why? Because I put a lot of effort into the content over there, and generally the effort I do there is different from the content you're going to see here on YouTube. It is different. In fact, I usually go a lot more in depth on topics or into niche topics that help you get to the next level even faster, because on YouTube, I often have to keep it more mainstream, and that's even why I'm putting it at the end of this YouTube video. That's why this is at the end, because a lot of people just watch 5 minutes, they skip through just for like the dopamine spike. But if you are interested in actually getting better at Dota, I recommend you go to the description down below, get your discount right now by clicking the link, sign up, use the discount code that you're going to see there, and I hope to see you there right now. So click it, and yeah, thanks for watching.